All right, pop quiz. What do you think is better, single barrels or blends? Now, we're not talking about E.H. Taylor, but just overall, what is your impression here? If you had to pick one and you were talking to a friend, have you told them that single barrels are better than blends and to go after single barrels? Or do you prefer the consistency or the profile of a blend? Let me know in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe. But before we even get into today's analysis, I want to see what your vote is and then see if we smash those perceptions by the end of it. Hello again, whiskey friends. That is what we are doing today. This is a follow-up to last week's video. We did get some interesting comments requesting that we get further into the data that we have here behind the scenes of the channels with all of our reviews and see if there was a difference between single barrels and blends. I gotta admit, I'm kind of surprised by this because I have said a lot of things and laid down a whole lot of track on this channel talking about this subject, and maybe I'm going to eat crow a little bit. We will see. First off, let's just make sure everyone is aligned with the definitions here. Some people are coming at this from different angles. A single barrel means that that whiskey in that bottle is coming from a single barrel of whiskey, whereas a blend is going to be a mixture of 2 barrels, 3 barrels, 100 barrels, 1,000 barrels. Just depends on what that distillery is doing, how big of a release it is, and how consistent of a profile that they're going for with that release. So what we do here on the channel is a lot of reviews, which enables us to get deeper into averages and to see if one of these categories sticks out over another. So when it comes to single barrels, the average score was an 83 out of 100. So that's a very, very good pour on average. Typically something that would be more of your daily or a mixer is going to score between a 70 and an 80. 80 to 84 is very good. 85 and higher is really what I aim for here. So a score of an 83 is nice and respectable, means I'm getting just as many hits as I am getting misses. And then when it comes to blends, surprise, surprise, the exact same number, 83 out of 100. Now I was surprised by this. I live and die by the single barrels. But the fact that the blends were right there with it, when I look at all that data, man, that was a bit eye-opening. Now, one thing I did do in all this, I did put a qualifying dollar amount of $50 or higher for this analysis, just because I didn't want blends to be impacted by things like, let's say, J.W. Dant, that we've done on this channel before, that I know are going to be scoring in the 70s, and they're meant to be there because of its price for $16. So are you surprised already that we are seeing really no difference on average between single barrels and blends? I'm curious what you put in the comments. Now we can get deeper into this analysis. When it comes to single barrels, there are really 3 different classifications that we keep track on. Was it a generic shelfer single barrel? Was it a store pick? Or was it a group pick? Now, a generic single barrel is one that was elevated by the distillery to be single barrel worthy, but maybe it never went through a picking process with a store or group, or it was never picked throughout that process, but the fact that it was still labeled for a single barrel meant that it was going to hit the shelf somewhere. So sometimes I just had the conception that the ones that were generic were just the ones that fell through the cracks that ultimately no one chose in a lineup. Now, a store pick versus a group pick, that is a more nuanced example there, where a store is going to be a liquor store, whereas a group, hey, maybe like Hello Again Whiskey Friends here, is going to be a private group just trying to sell to their circle. Now, what I've heard from store owners before is that a lot of times they pick on something that's going to have mass appeal. They look for that smooth factor because they are trying to just sell those out to a mass audience, where a group pick may actually understand their audience. They may be fellow enthusiasts. They may be really, really into a specific brand, or you may know that your audience is into high proof. So you can lean into the things that your audience likes, or the audience leans into you being the picker because they understand your palate and they think there's alignment there already. Going into this, I always thought that group picks were the king of the mountain, with the generic being more the bottom shelf. Getting into the scores, you know what? Generic held some weight there. 82 out of 100. Now, keep in mind, when I do say generic, something that would count in there would be something like a Michter's 10 single barrel. Technically a single barrel and not a pick. For the store picks, right there, 82 out of 100. maybe coming in at the same way due to that characteristic of trying to find that mass appeal. And then for the group picks, hey, we got a differentiator here. 2 points higher on average. That didn't surprise me. A lot of the times, a lot of my favorite bottles of the year do come from the groups in this community. And then the flip side of this equation, if we go back to the blends, you have blends that are made from within a single distillery. So that means if you had a blend, let's say by Buffalo Trace, only Buffalo Trace exists within that blend. But there are other companies out there, let's say like Bardstown Bourbon Company, that are blending together multiple distilleries and barrels that they're finding to create their own unique profile, essentially using all the distilleries as different ingredients to add to their own personality and distinction. With the single distillery here, 82 out of 100 was the average. And then if you move up to the multiple distilleries, it goes up again, 84 out of 100. That one didn't surprise me too much either. We know a lot of good blenders around here, and they are making some amazing things for some amazing brands, such as Bardstown that I was talking about earlier. Even Joseph Magnus Cigar Blend, as an example, might be a blend between MGP and Barton Distillate. So there are a lot of good brands out there mixing things together to create their own. And a lot of the times, those are some of the higher priced bottles on the shelf, either due to the cost of sourcing all those barrels or the process of finding that blend. So when it was all said and done, hey, there really wasn't too much difference between all those cuts of the data. Very, very surprising to me. I still swear up and down that single barrels are where the value is at. But apparently on average, we find just as much good stuff that's blend as a single barrel. And it really comes down to more of those group picks and those NDPs that are maybe doing some really, really great blends, blending multiple things together that stick out more than the other options. So what did you think of this analysis? Did it match that answer that you put at the beginning? Hopefully you did leave a comment there. If you didn't, hey, another chance. Hit that like and subscribe for me here. And if you have another example of any type of analysis you want us to do, let us know. I know a lot of people here seem to enjoy these type of videos, and I love getting into the data. And just remember, everybody, you can always find more whiskey, but you can never find enough whiskey friends. So take care of those that are around you, and we'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.